Penta has arrived in the WWE, and it hasn't taken him a long time to win over a whole new audience, but longtime fans know there's a darker side to him. In this video, I'm going to go through 4 storylines inspired by his time spent at Lucha Underground that could transform Penta into Pentagon Dark in the WWE. Alright guys, welcome back to the show. My name is Amit. I am one half of the tag team that is Wrestling Mates. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about Penta. This is meant to be a fun video. I am just going to play a few scenarios out and see what storylines we can build for Penta based on some of the storylines that he had in Lucha Underground. Now, Lucha Underground was one of my favorite promotions back when it was sort of playing, and I really enjoyed its unique style, its unique way of storytelling, how it differentiated itself so much from the WWE and really anything else that was out there. It was such a different product. And if you're not familiar with Lucha Underground, I'm going to try to give you enough details to sort of understand what Lucha Underground is and fill in the blanks as much as I can. But hey, this is meant to be a fun video, as I said, so it's not meant to be taken too seriously. I'm just going to try and play out some scenarios and see if the WWE will eventually, turn Penta to the dark side and make him the more evil, sinister Pentagon Dark that we're familiar with in Lucha Underground. So let me get straight into it at number 1, Shinsuke Nakamura.
The sinister Nakamura. A 3-time United.
So Shinsuke has a new gimmick. He is the samurai from the Far East. Now, if you get that reference, then you'll understand where I'm going with this one. But essentially, Shinsuke has this new character. He's a samurai, and, I love his new look. I love his new attire. I love his new intro. I love his music. They've given Shinsuke a lot to work with here in terms of his character. However, one thing they have not really tapped into yet is Shinsuke's background. What made him into this samurai character? He was basically absent for most of 2024, and we don't really know what happened and why he's become a samurai all of a sudden. But if the WWE were to look into his character a little bit more and give us some more backstory, we could find a way into Penta and a potential rivalry. Now, why do I say that? Because Penta's background in Lucha Underground, which was also not really fleshed out that much either. Like Penta's story in Lucha Underground, to give you guys some context, was more around his progress from when he joins Lucha Underground to the future, not really looking on the past so much. Although they do give us some glimpses into where he's from, and this is where the connection can come. So Penta's background in Lucha Underground is he is a warrior he was born in Mexico, then he essentially found his way to Japan. He talks about how he had to learn the way of fighting to basically exist. He says that the samurai were almost going to become extinct before they basically found a darker way of fighting. And that's where Penta sort of learned the way of his craft and his sort of wrestling style. So, if you just put these two together, the samurai that is Shinsuke and Penta's background, which is way of fighting through the samurai, then hey, you could get something here where they sort of lean into both of these stories. Now, to do this, the WWE have to put a lot of good writing together and then sort of form this story out of both of these like half-baked stories from both promotions. But if they do, it could be something really interesting. I mean, I would love to see a Shinsuke versus Penta match or two, to be honest. I think their styles would be it'd be so interesting because both of them have like a harder edge style to them. Like one thing about Penta and people that have watched him even in the WWE so far might have picked up on is that he is not your traditional luchador. We don't see him doing so many high-flying moves. He just has one or two really, but he's not really your typical Rey Mysterio back in his prime, or Ricochet, or someone that's just flying off the ropes all the time and doing flips and dramatics. No, he is a much more grounded wrestler. So seeing him match up with Shinsuke, I feel you'd get a lot of similarities, but they could work off each other really well just with how experienced they both are. The chances of this happening, I don't see this happening anytime soon, but maybe sometime down the line after Shinsuke is finished with his US title run. He's still the holder right now. Now, he's not appearing so much. He's just in segments here and there. He was lurking in the background recently. So it's probably not something they're going to do too soon. But sometime down the line, who knows? Maybe the next feud for Shinsuke might be Penta. Number 2. Io Sky and Kairi Sane, the Black Lotus connection.
Pentagon falls victim to Hitokiri.
So this is one that I can see never happening. I don't know how it would happen. It would take a lot of manipulation for this to happen. And manipulation is a very funny word, considering a lot of the Black Lotus triad story is to do with manipulation. To give you guys some background, one of the most popular matches in Lucha Underground was Io Sky versus Pentagon Dark. Now, if you're wondering how this happened, there's a whole, I think, basically 2 seasons worth of content to cover to get to that point. But essentially, there's a character by the name of Black Lotus, a wrestler by the name of Angela Fong, and she essentially comes to Lucha Underground seeking revenge for the death of her parents. And through this journey, there becomes a match between the Lotus Triad versus Pentagon Dark. And the match itself is insane. It's so much fun, and it's something that's very specific to Lucha Underground, because Lucha Underground did have intergender matches, and they were freaking awesome. There were a lot of really good intergender matches in Lucha Underground. In the WWE, that is something that doesn't exist. So for this to happen, it would require so much work from both Penta's story as well as Io Sky and Kairi Sane's Damage Control story. It would have to be some kind of hybrid or something like that. The way that it could happen is, I guess, when Penta comes across Io Sky or Kairi Sane, we just sort of get some glimpses, and they start to remember each other from their different times together. From memory, the result of that was, I think the Lotus Triad had actually beaten Pentagon Dark, essentially. So they ended up, after the gauntlet match they had, breaking both of his arms, performing the sacrifice, which is Penta's. In the WWE, it seems like a signature move, but in Lucha Underground, at the point when he was Pentagon Dark, breaking the arm wasn't just like a finisher, a way to pin somebody. It became like a way to basically knock them out, so they couldn't wrestle anymore. So they could pull together some storyline with these two. You'd probably have to get, as I said, some other characters involved. It would be such a far-fetched idea, but it'd have to involve betrayal angles and memories from the past or something like that. And maybe Penta aligns with the Black Lotus just because they were in the same promotion together or something like that. And then he gets betrayed again. They'd have to do a lot of storytelling. So for this to happen would be so unlikely, but man, would it be fun. If the WWE were open to intergender matches, this would be so cool to play this back in the WWE, especially Io Sky versus Pentagon Jr. in some kind of match, because just go and check that match out. It is completely bonkers. Number 3, Vampiro, the Old Master returns. Vampiro was the master of Penta for quite a while in season 2 and 3 of Lucha Underground. And he essentially, in Lucha Underground, he starts off as a commentator until the end of season 1, where it's revealed that he is actually the master. Pentagon's story is so interesting in Lucha Underground. He's a character who is kind of possessed by the master that he obeys, who he's basically taking guidance from. And one of the things that he's been told to do is break the arms of essentially everyone he faces. And that is his ritual. That is his way to become stronger. So in season 1, he breaks the arms of basically everybody until it's finally revealed who the master is, and the master is Vampiro. Now, Vampiro does not have much connection to the WWE. He was in WCW, and I'll be honest, I don't know much about Vampiro. I know more about him in Lucha Underground than anywhere else. The chances of this happening again are really small for Vampiro actually coming into the WWE and playing a role. He also has some sicknesses at the moment, so which makes it even harder. But if they were to do something like this, oh my God, whether it's Vampiro or a similar kind of, I guess entity or a similar kind of character that comes and, possesses Penta to sort of go back to his old ways, we could see a turn from Pentagon into Pentagon Dark. Because what happens in Lucha Underground is Pentagon is not a dark character to begin with. He's actually a pretty normal character. He has got like a evil side to him, but there is not like this really, really dark side. And he doesn't become Pentagon Dark, which is his avatar when he turns evil, essentially, until the end of season 1, or maybe even a bit after, when it gets crazy. Vampiro starts torturing Penta and trying to make him stronger, strength through pain and all that stuff. So if Vampiro comes back, that could be a way to turn him dark and make him more evil, because he just sort of sees his old master come back and he falls back into the old traits that he had. There was a lot of manipulation that was involved with Vampiro's character, whether it's Vampiro or somebody else, but that might be another way to turn him dark and into a more violent, vicious character. Number 4, Dario Queto.
Are you sure you don't want to compete for one of them?
So Dario Queto, to give you guys some context, and it's going to be interesting explaining this character. He is like the authority figure. He's the big boss in Lucha Underground. He's responsible for all the bookings, the promotions. He's the leader. To give you guys some comparisons, he would be similar to somebody like Vince McMahon, minus all the outside wrestling stuff. His main motivation is essentially to make as much money as he can through wrestling, but there's a whole like darker side to him as well, and like he's got this monster that's trapped in a cage, which essentially the storyline in Lucha Underground goes eventually at some point in seasons 2 and 3, I believe, when Pentagon is more involved with the title picture and his goal is to actually win gold, whereas in the first season his goal is just to impress his master, which is Vampiro. At that point, in seasons 2 and 3, I believe, he essentially brings in his brother, and his brother is like one of Pentagon Dark's main like adversaries during that time. So, you know, they could bring some of this stuff back if they were to turn Pentagon Dark again. For some reason, Dario Queto comes and he becomes involved with the WWE, and then he sort of brings out the dark side of Penta some more. You know, maybe they put their differences behind with their brother, and now Dario has some new goals to achieve, and he gets Penta involved like that. It's a very far-fetched story, but if they do something like that, it would just be completely insane. To explain his character a little bit more, I said Vince McMahon, but that's more like in terms of his place within Lucha Underground. But if he was to be in the WWE universe, you know, maybe he is more just like a manager in the WWE. It would be kind of crazy to see these two together again. I don't know what Dario Queto is up to right now. I believe from what I saw last time, he was involved with MLW. So who knows, if the WWE were to really get creative and bring in some more characters, then Dario Queto would be such an interesting one, and he could definitely be somebody that turns Pentagon into Pentagon Dark in the WWE. Well, that was really it for this video, guys. There wasn't really much more for me to say. These are some crazy, far-fetched stories. Ever since Penta has joined, I've just been thinking about, you know, potential storylines for him and how to potentially book him, and when will we see him sort of turn to a more evil side, a heel, as you would call it in the WWE. I don't even see Penta turning to a darker side anytime soon, because right now I think him as a face is working so well, because, you know, he's just had such a good run to begin with, and people are really enjoying seeing, you know, what he's about. And I'll give you some more context. In Lucha Underground, Penta was always a heel, one of the most evil characters in Lucha Underground. He was so over in Lucha Underground as well, even though he was doing these, you know, atrocities by basically breaking people's arms and taking them out for weeks on end and injuring them. Like it's insane what he got away with. But I don't know if if he can do the same things that he did in Lucha Underground and do that in the WWE, and for the crowd to still appreciate him like they did in Lucha Underground. But who knows? We do have characters like Bond Breaker who are also kind of tweeners, like they've got a more edge, like they have a darker edge to them in the way they sort of wrestle and the way they sort of fight. So who knows? Maybe the WWE can put him as a heel, but as also at the same time somebody that is over with the crowd. That's becoming more and more common, and we're seeing that much more. But as for now, I don't see any of these stories happening anytime soon. But if they do, these are some ideas for the WWE and how to turn him dark if they were to ever leverage some of his past, which I don't think they will do. So this is meant to be a fun video. As I said, it's just for imagination. It's just to let your imaginations run wild and have a good time with it. So let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys enjoyed Lucha Underground as much as I did, and if any of these stories resonate with you. I would love to know any of your theories and any of your ideas as to what we could do to turn Penta dark. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.